Lee Abrams, co-founder and chief content officer of TouchVision. Television news really hasn't evolved in decades, if ever. There's still the standard fake city skyline with a desk and two anchor people chit-chatting, and that's fine, but I think there's a tremendous opportunity for reinvention, particularly among 18 to 44-year-olds. We see a zone between kind of the silly, amusing but silly TMZ and the traditional old-school news. And we think you could kind of drive a truck through that. But the whole is for something that's not traditional. It's not things that Onion mocks. At the same time, it's not stupid, which a lot of the pop culture news is. The way it's done is what we call eye, ear, brain, take you there. And what that means is every piece of production 24/7 has those four characteristics. Eye, meaning it's cinematic. It's like a news movie rather than a newscast, where it's not somebody, a reporter, standing in front of a 7-Eleven that was robbed 12 hours ago with a mic. But it's very beautiful pictures, again, like a movie experience, and very multi-dimensional. We'll use raw footage from the CNNs and Gettys and places we have licenses with. We'll also use clips from movies, retro clips from newsreels of the 30s and 40s, whatever it takes to tell the story visually. That's what we call eye.
MSNBC, CNBC, Comedy Central's up, C-SPAN, Bloomberg. So there's just a lot of stuff up here, and then we keep our eye on this as it goes along. If something breaks and we want to grab it so we can use it with attribution somewhere else, then we'd spend a lot of time doing that as well.
So if it's a story about a tornado in Oklahoma, we might use Hank Williams type music to help tell the story. If it's a story about explosions and bombs in Afghanistan, we might use Wagner. So there's a soundtrack to the story. That's ear.
Is there a typical length to a piece?
No. That's kind of the beauty.
What's the range?
Well, we have some pieces that have run about as long as 4 to 5 minutes, but those are big things, like we're talking about the March on Washington in 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. special, or we did one called Zero Dark Watertown, where we retold the entire Boston bombing incident. But generally, stories are in the 1 to 2 minute range. We like to target 90 seconds.
Third thing is brain, where we don't want it to be elite in a sort of public television way, which is fine. I watch it, but want it to be mass appeal intelligent, meaning sort of like an Apple product. Everybody has one or wants one, but they're really smart. And we have what's called the intellectual scale, whereas if 1 is Miley Cyrus and 10 is something from the Financial Times in London, we want to kind of be there in the 7 zone.
In Milwaukee and Chicago and the internet, but I'm feeding a 2-hour morning show to an affiliate that we have in another market. Everything can be trafficked and organized from here.
We think that a lot of news has really gotten dumbed down over the years. The fourth thing is what we call take you there, where if you watch traditional news, where it takes you is a newsroom with NORAD screens or the chit-chatting anchors. We want to take you to the scene of the story. So we kind of joke that if we're doing a story on, say, Cairo, you should be able to smell the speakers and smell food stalls because we take you to the scene. I liken it to, you'll relate to this, the late 60s, where there was a revolution going on in music with Hendrix and Pink Floyd and Jethro Tull and Santana. And it was a whole new attitude, a new spirit, a new look, a new everything. But the only place you could get it was on AM radio, which was still, hey, George Carlin, hey, groovy guys, groovy girls. And the time was right for a whole new sound that matched, the cultural revolution we were going through. And it wasn't about jingles and contests and Partridge Family. So FM radio was created. Which really took advantage of the new mainstream that was emerging in America at the time. Very kind of low-key, very cool, very low hype. We see the same thing now. there's kind of its own cultural revolution going on in America now, and news is sort of stuck in another era where there's an opportunity to do to news what FM did to music, and just create a whole new approach that reaches this new mainstream. And again, I don't think we're the kind of thing that's going to kill CNN or destroy local news, because I don't think our target is really watching them anyway. It's really taking people who have kind of given up on the video news experience and giving them an experience that will engage them. And you know, sort of self-righteously, we have this internal line that the world is having a nervous breakdown. We don't want to feed it, we want to help it. And by feeding it, it's just, you know, the two guys are yelling at each other. You know, Obama should be impeached. Oh no, Obama's wanted. You know, just getting rid of that, all that noise, and just telling the story like it is, and not feeding the nervous breakdown, but helping people understand, and you know, storytelling in a way that is very neutral. Neutrality is important, because we want to be truly neutral. But instead of avoiding the scary topics or taking sides, we want to deliver both sides.
Really?
You curated, and I call it reproduced, meaning we do go through a story selection process with a managing editor and a sort of traditional procedure for finding the right stories. We have licenses with, again, the CNN's AP, AFP, etc. And they will, what we call, not scripted, we call it storyboarded. So instead of writing a script, it's more like a movie. You know, this comes in here, this comes in here. Then they will have a mini meeting with the editors and the graphics department and figure out, okay, what graphic elements need to come in here, and sort of discuss it with the editor, and then that's the story they see. So we have people from TV, we have people from ad agencies, film school, and boy, you put them all in this one environment, and I think it really elevates the news experience. Narration is actually a critical ingredient, because we don't have anchors, we have narrators, and it is modeled a lot after the old newsreels. We watched those from the 40s and 50s, and they were great.
Is this aimed toward mobile and social media, the direction that we seem to be headed?
Yeah, I think it's very, on the app anyway. We think the eventual place this is going to be TV for tablets, so to speak. But yeah, it's commenting, user generated. We look at the we're not at the critical mass yet, but in time we think our stringers will be the public. People out there with their cameras. You can share the stories easily. You can create your own playlist. So you can watch what we call couch potato style. You turn it on and it just rolls. It's 24/7 news like CNN or anybody else. Or you can customize it for yours. So we're trying to take advantage of all the digital opportunities. But first and foremost, we don't want to get caught up in being another social media site where you can share stories with your friends. We call that duh. It's like, to survive today, you have to have those components. But first and foremost, it's I hope a credible news source that just kind of reimagines storytelling.
What are your benchmarks? How do you know when this is going to be a success, and by what measures?
Yeah, it's never been done before, so the short answer is sooner the better. I deal strictly in content, so some of the guys, other partners who are more focused on the business plan, probably shoot me. But in a nutshell, we just really launched recently, and we'd like television to be a driver of this as diginets, digital channels, but also, and I can't mention the market, but we've signed a couple that'll start pretty soon, morning shows where they take 2 hours of TouchVision and run it 6 to 8 or 5 to 7. And also stations are going to use some of our segments in their 9 o'clock news. We have one called Celebrity Crimes Against Humanity, which is really calling out the stupidity of the Miley Cyrus stuff instead of celebrating it. And some traditional news stations say, that's our celebrity segment. We'd like to use that. you know, we make a lot of money and we've been doing what we're doing for 80 years. We don't want to change what we're doing, but we'd like that segment and your day in pictures where you take the greatest photojournalism of the day and set it to music. We'd like that. And so there are three components: the 24/7 Diginet, picking away parts of it for their traditional news, or a dedicated 1 or 2 hour morning show, and the whole thing there is to drive digital usage, because TV is still powerful promotion. And then we have quite a program for for social media, Facebook and all that, and that's generated just 1 million uniques in a matter of 2 weeks. And then there's going to be some additional promotion, but I'd like to see in a year, I think is a realistic time where, like, well, this is real. Maybe sooner than today, who knows. And some stations run either a very expensive local morning show that's really not doing anything, or they might running paid commercials or just sort of filler stuff. This might be an opportunity to. Plus, it also gives local television stations a real digital strength, because we would be one of their branded websites. So, in other words, a station in Omaha took this. All we'd ask for, they didn't have to carry the program, just promote it. Hey, WOW-TV. Check out TouchVision, our new online news service, and they would share in some of the revenue.
Is this project really bringing together a lot of the skill sets over your entire career?
Yeah, it really is, on many levels. One is, I've always just had a timing or a knack for kind of inventing new formats. Just always came naturally. And so yeah, I learned a lot about how to launch products, what from the past to just reject, and what is evergreen. I think that's important. And a lot of lessons on how to help motivate and inspire a staff to do amazing work. And I think XM more than anything, because we did that from absolute scratch. We were 2 of us in an office this size launching it, and now I guess the most profitable radio company in the world, whatever. But learned a lot about that, because there were some things that were evergreen in radio programming we couldn't stop doing. Other things were just like myths and cliches that we had to bust. So yeah, a lot of this is kind of a culmination of all that stuff. And I think what it really helps do is make fewer mistakes. We're going to make mistakes, but probably fewer, because I already made all possible mistakes over the years in launching products, and have seen 24/7 products and seen what works, what doesn't, what to avoid, what to like, whatever anybody says, no, this is the right way. And so yeah, I think, and the late 60s, as old as it makes you sound, I see so many similarities. Again, not in terms of, it was a different era then. It was Vietnam and moon landings and sexual and drug revolutions. But there was the same cultural change and same kind of spirit going on, and readiness for change and embrace of change. So I think learned a lot from that era. You can't just repeat that because it's completely different now, but there's enough there to, I think, learn from and apply here.
I'm really sure what Jake's working on here, but when he comes back.
How'd you come up with Creative Oasis as a name?
Well, just because that's what we wanted it to be. This is called the Twilight Zone, which is where the creative and the designers and the animators and the graphics people are all working.
One of the keys to what we're doing is reverse migration. When we were pitching this to potential investors, there was well, I can already get every kind of news on my tablet. Well, why are you different? Yes, but it's the same old crap. Taking something that's very old school, putting it on a tablet won't make it cool. Just like, again, going back to the 60s, putting a Herb Alpert record on FM won't make Herb Alpert the new Jimi Hendrix. It's the same thing. It's just so what we're doing is really thinking of it as a digital product that happens to be migrating to TV. And there are some challenges of that because, traditional people in television, well, it has to be television. But we'll get through that. And the other thing is there's sometimes a tendency to think we have no personality. It's like you need the human factor. We have plenty of that. We have commentators. We have a lot of men on the street. We have retired police detectives doing crime reports. It's just the personality we don't have are chit-chatting anchors and reporters. It's and again, in all due respect, it's fine. These people do great, and they have lots of fans, and some of them are spectacular at what they do. It's just not us. But we do have personality. It's just not sitting behind a desk.